Da-dum, dum, da-dum. Welcome to Semi-Trailers and Stuff Podcast. Episode 2. Today, we will be discussing weight ratings. Weight ratings on low boys versus step decks. First off, I want to address something real quick. Yesterday, we had a special guest, Chad Lee. Got a really good reaction from our supporters and everybody. So, as a gift today, I'm just going to let you guys know that Chad has become a permanent staple in the studio with us. Chad got his own headset. Chad.
I was wondering how you were going to address that.
Chad got his own headset yesterday and his own mic. So Today we're in that. So we're going to be talking about weight ratings today. But first off, I want to let you guys know that we are more than trailer salesmen. We do have other hobbies, and one of those hobbies is we like to watch football, and Chad has a fantasy team, and Chad did really well with his fantasy team last night. Chad, tell us just a little bit about what went on.
No, we don't really want to get into that, but I will divulge in the fact that I've lost two great running backs, and one of them, prayers go out to Mr. Nick Chubb, man. That's a bad knee blow there, buddy. I know you're listening to this, Nick, so... lost Nick Chubb for the season. Big points guy right there. Ford stepped up, which I didn't have him on my fantasy draft, but he was on the.
I don't know who that is.
That was their other running back that they had.
Oh, okay.
And
you got him on your team? Or?
I do now. First thing this morning.
Look at you, Mr. Trading Block.
I lost sleep, man. I was up at 5 o'clock this morning walking the dogs, thinking about my draft. So.
Okay.
But anyway, I also lost Saquon Barkley, but looks like he may just be out for a couple of weeks. So I don't know. Maybe I'll make a big comeback.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, I don't either. He's gone too. So.
Well, anyway. I can't say that I'm surprised. Saquon tends to get hurt the first couple of weeks of every season, and then he'll make a push. But prayers to Nick Chubb, like Chad said, and prayers to Nick to Chad's fantasy team. Obviously,
it's
that is just for fun now. I mean, that's just like anything else.
We still got a lot of weeks, man. We're not giving up. Not giving up that easy. I mean, the Ford guy, even in a half, still put up 40 fantasy points last night.
Did he really?
Yeah, he had over 100 yards and 25 receiving yards. I mean, they put that kid to work last night. So.
Wow. Okay.
But again, didn't have him on my team, but still.
Okay. Well, good deal.
It was 36 points or something like that, but he still put up. So, anyway, typical, big running back, what force that they're going to use, So, use them till they can't use them anymore.
Okay. Well,
so
good deal.
Anyway.
So anyway, like I said, Jacob and Chad here, we're going to talk about load ratings today. I'm just going to let y'all know. So not blowing smoke up his rear end here, but I have been doing this for about 6 years. Chad, on the other hand, has been doing it for over 20 years. And I have to admit, even though I do have a different opinion on some things, basically everything I know has come from Chad. So, like I said, not trying to blow smoke up his rear end here.
Yeah.
He is technically my boss. He is the general manager, but... Just so you know, we do have a opinion on a lot of stuff, but a lot of my knowledge does come from him, if not most of it. So, Chad, go ahead and get us started here with this beam ratings conversation, and just go ahead and tell us.
I will bounce this back too, that his retention of stuff is way better than mine. So a lot of times you'll hear me reference back to him, going, "Hey, you remember those numbers on those deals?" So anyway, probably an age thing, and a couple of drinks more than he's had in his lifetime, But I think one of the biggest things that we want to get this conversation going about, and that we run into on a daily basis when people are looking at a step deck versus a low boy trailer, and then you take a 3-axle. Let's take example, a 3-axle low profile. And we typically sell that trailer in a Doonan trailer. We like the beam ratings. We like the custom features that we can build onto those trailers, and how Doonan will do what we ask them to do when we want that trailer built to withstand a heavy duty load. But that trailer versus which that trailer beam rating can be 110,000 pounds, which a lot of people will say that's a 55-ton capacity trailer. When you talk about GVWR, which means loading something from tail to tip, yes, that is true. It's 55 tons. But concentrated load ratings drop off a pretty good bit on that. compared to the 55 ton. 55 ton lowboy concentrated load rating is typically in a 16-foot area, so you could typically do 55 tons, 110,000 pounds in a 16-foot area versus the 3-axle step deck is giving you 110,000 pounds or 55 tons over the whole trailer. They do give you a concentrated load rating, but it typically drops back down to 70,000 or 80,000, depending on how the trailer's built and how the beams are. You got some of the bigger oil field trailers that give us an 80,000, but typically on a Doonan 3-axle, we're sitting around 70,000 in a 10-foot area. Now, let's talk about that concentrated area of what we're talking about. Concentrated load rating on a step deck trailer. Step deck has 2 beams on it, on 2 main beams, and then outside rails. Those outside rails don't have a lot of load rating to them. They're going to be somewhere around 10,000 pounds. You need to check the manufacturer to make sure on that outside railing. And another thing you have on a step deck trailer are wheel pans, and the wheel pans are actually less load rating than what you have on the side rail.
So not to cut you off right here, but I just want to be very clear to everybody that's listening here.
You did cut me.
I know I did cut you off, and here we go with some more phone calls coming in the studio. But this is a very common misconception here that a 55-ton lowboy and a 55-ton wood, and I hate when people refer to a drop deck as a 55-ton trailer with a GVWR because that gets convoluted, because what people think is, well, I can haul the same things between that lowboy and that step deck, and the only difference is just the dimensions of the trailer, just the height of what I'm dealing with. So in layman's terms, I know you went into a little bit more, a little bit specifics there, but basically that's what you're saying there, is to just know right off the bat that those are 2 different animals altogether.
Yeah. And again, the difference is going to be, you got to think about the beams and the side rails, beams versus side rails. A lowboy has 4 I-beams on that trailer. Some are built a little bit different, but let's just take a general 55-ton hydraulic detached lowboy. There are 4 beams on that. You have 2 main beams in the middle, and you have 2 smaller beams on the outside, which allow you to carry heavy equipment, dozers, things that are spread out wide. And probably one of my best examples that a lot of people, and I see a lot of damage come back into our...
Are you going to tell the story? Are you telling the Dorsey story?
No, not the Dorsey story. That is a good one.
That is a good story.
That is good. That's a dozer going up on the back of that. But no, I was going to tell about the man lift coming up on a 3-axle.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
3-axle Doonan. It was an aluminum beam trailer, but the guy, it was a 40,000-pound load. And so his argument to us was that this was at 40,000 pounds and that his trailer should have withstood the load. You got to think about a man lift. A man lift is 40,000 pounds on 4 wheels.
When he says man lift, he's talking about the thing with tires that has the boom on it that you get in, that you can rent from a lot of these you can get from these rental companies that get you up in the air, just so we're clear about what a man lift is.
They're rubber wheeled, extension boom on the front of them or back, whatever, it swirls around any which way you want to go. But typically these things run, for the bigger ones, they're going to run right at 40,000 pounds. Well, you look at GVWR, yes, it can hold it. The trailer is, if you look at the numbers in that way, but what you're not looking at is the outside rails of that trailer. The outside rail, again, is 10,000 pounds. Wheel pan is 7,000 pounds. Well, this guy parked that thing where it set over those back wheel pans. Then he took chains, he bound this thing down with chains. He had chains strapped all over this thing, using aluminum side rails to do so. Not the D-rings, not the tie downs and other things that he could have used to do that. And the first turn that he made coming out of that parking lot, that not just the wheel pan, but the wheel pan and the cross members, the side rail, all that stuff just collapsed right down onto that wheel.
Terrible situation.
Yeah. And of course, now he's got to get a crane in there. It was a bad deal. And of course, the guy calls us, griping at us about the fact that his trailer failed. And then we look at the whole thing and, go, hey, this is only rated for 7,000 pounds right here. And of course, it's our responsibility to let people know about these things, but also it's the driver's responsibility to know how his equipment works too. So we went through that. We did get his trailer fixed and got him back on the road, et cetera, et cetera. But I've seen that a couple of times, multiple times, of how that happens. Put that on a lowboy, no problem at all. The lowboy's got an I-beam on the outside of it. I'm not sure what the load ratings are. You may recall those, but I don't know. Different lowboys have different outside load rating, but plenty of it, because it's a steel main beam or steel I-beam on the outside of that.
Yeah.
That give you that higher rating on the outside. That's what those trailers are made for. The 55 tons, they all come with outriggers on them, so you can get another foot out wide. I mean, they're meant to carry wide, heavy loads, bulldozers, man lifts. Go down the list of heavy equipment that they haul on a daily basis.
So real quick, while you're in the storytelling mood, and we're not going to say names here. People make mistakes. We all make mistakes. But tell us, when you take a 53-foot combo drop deck, 2-axle on 22 5s, and you go load a D6 dozer on it, let me just ask, is that a good idea? And what happens when you do that?
Again, let's go back to ratings on this, and well, to shorten up what he just said, what happens is that the back end of that step deck craters. You know, it was a rear axle slide, 2-axle trailer.
Well, hang on now. Hang on. My step deck said 80,000 evenly spaced across the lower deck. So when I get this dozer on there, it weighs less than 80,000 pounds. So that should be okay, right?
The dozer was 45,000 pounds that we come to find out. And yeah, exactly like Jacob said. The ramps are rated at 22,500 pounds per axle. Ramps can hold that and then some. You know, there was no problem with the ramps. They did not fail at all. The back end of that trailer collapsed is what ended up happening. Bent the main beam on there, because whenever he come up and that dozer teetered off, you know, got to that one point where all of the weight of that bulldozer was at the very tip back end of that trailer. And it was, again, a 2-axle with a rear axle slide. I think the axles were back on it. Probably were, but still, it bent that trailer right there behind that axle. Bent the main beams, bent the rails, the whole shoot match. You know, the trailer didn't fail because of what it was. It just was not set up to do that.
Might as well have loaded it on a bumper pull.
Yeah, exactly. Now, do they build trailers that can withstand that can do that? Yes, they do. But as a salesperson, this is kind of the hard thing. We try to figure out what you're going to load, but I don't know that you're going to go load bricks tomorrow on a flatbed trailer.
Let me say something, too, while you're listening, in case you're out there, a guy that called a couple of weeks ago and tried to explain the difference between a step deck and a drop deck to me. Don't call in and let us know that just because you have successfully done something in the past, that it was the right thing to do.
That's true that.
Because you have a step deck and you have loaded a D6 dozer doesn't mean that it's what you should be doing.
Or because Ray does it every day, you know, down the road, you know, and he's been doing it for 20 years, you know. Again, look at the equipment, figure out what's got to do. This is what we get into a lot of times with the manufacturers. Like whenever we have an issue like this and we call to see if it's a warranty issue, whatever it may be, the manufacturer, first thing that they ask us is, what was he hauling, and you know, how did you sell him this trailer? So manufacturers think that we break down every customer that calls in and ask them, hey, what are you going to be hauling? Can you give me a list of the 2,000 things that you're going to haul from day to day? You know, and we don't do that. We kind of, in general, when people aren't sure if they want a step deck or a lowboy, we start getting into the differences, and then we start going, hey, what are you hauling? You know, and they go, we're going to haul those cell tower buildings out of Shreveport over there. Yeah. You know, oh, okay, well, hey, that's a distributed load. That's a great little for a 3-axle step deck, low profile, perfect. You know, is that all you're going to haul? No, I'm planning on hauling dozers too. Well, then the step deck may not be